What's going on, everyone? My name is Sherwin, and today we are in the Cybertruck studios. And this video, I've been writing notes, so I have my iPad here. This video is about my 2-month review of the Cybertruck. I'm recording this a little over 2 months of ownership, and currently we are sitting on 8,417 total miles. But we can subtract about 2,000 miles of that because we did buy it as a demo vehicle. So I've driven it around 6,400 miles in a little over 2 months of ownership. So what I want to talk about is the first 30 days and the first 60 days in terms of what the efficiency and the charging costs have been. We're going to talk about insurance cost. I'm going to be sharing that with you. And we're going to talk about the likes and dislikes. And I don't know what I don't know what to call it. It's more of like needs improvement or more information or maybe suggestion. Because it's neither a like or a dislike, but more of this is what I noticed. So I just want to share that with you all. And a couple of other things. Before we begin, I want to recap just in case this is the first video you are watching, but the things I'm going to go over, I've done many videos on, but prior to the Cybertruck, we've owned 2 Model X's, both buybacks. One was the 2022 Model X long range 6-seater, and the second one was the 2023 Model X Plaid. We had 2 of them because, again, there were buybacks. We replaced the first buyback with another Model X, thinking it may have been a fluke or whatever. It wasn't a fluke from our experience. So Abby, my wife, wanted a 3rd Model X because she really loves that car. And it's not that I dislike the car. I also like the car. But going for a 3rd one, having the last 2 with just really bad experiences, I don't think I wanted to go through that ordeal. But yet at the same time, what we replaced it with is a Cybertruck, and I was a bit concerned because many people have had bad experiences with it. I know a good number of people who had buybacks with their Cybertruck and actually was watching my videos to get more information about the buyback process. But here's the thing. All of them that I know that did buybacks have been the Foundation series. So this is not a Foundation series. It's a non-Foundation series. We've also tried the Tri-Motor Gen 2 R1S. But Abby is just really a Tesla only person. She just doesn't want anything but Tesla. I actually was lucky to get her support on the R1T lease I did last year, which I have sitting on the side right here. So we have 2 trucks sitting on the driveway, 2 electric trucks, and I love both of them. But this video, we're going to just strictly focus on how it's been with the Cybertruck. This is a dual motor, non-Foundation, for the last 60 days or so. We got to the Cybertruck because after test driving it, I figured this is the closest vehicle to her Model X as far as comfort and just the feel of driving it. It is physically bigger. I don't think it feels heavier. It just feels similar, but just the driving experience is very similar. The comfort is very similar. So a lot of the things I'm going to go over is based on some comparisons with owning a Model X previously to this truck. Now, we almost didn't get the Cybertruck. Actually, we weren't even planning to get the Cybertruck until Abby gave up the Model X. We did the Surrender Day video, and she was like, it hit her like she no longer has a car. And everything, I guess, came at the right time. New Year's Eve and all that. Lots of deals were just being presented. We checked it out. And then the following day, we took delivery, New Year's Eve. So I have all those videos in the channel if you haven't checked it out. But Yeah, so how has it been the last 2 months? Now this also came with free supercharging for 3 months. That's why I've been driving it a lot, because it's free supercharging. But let's go through the list of things that I like about the car. As mentioned, this is the closest feel to our Model X, almost. It's almost as comfy, and the ride feels similar. Now, our Model X does feel a lot more comfier. I think the seats are softer compared to the R1S that Abby and I test drove. These seats are a little softer. My R1T seats are, the Gen 1 is firmer. So I think this would sit between Rivian seats and Model X refresh seats, like in between. It's not as soft as the Model X, but not as firm as the Rivian. The ride feels similar because they both have a similar suspension. I feel that the Model X does have a softer suspension, a lot comfier ride, but you got to remember this is a truck. And on top of that, yes, it is a truck, but the ride does feel very good. Now, it's really not as fast as the Plaid, but we didn't buy EVs for performance. We wanted it for convenience. We wanted to save money with fuel costs. How are you going to spend more money on a vehicle and consider it saving money? Well, we don't have this car for 3 months and we've already driven over 6,000 miles. That is something that I wouldn't call like average use. We here in Southern California, we drive a lot. Work commute, it's over 100 miles every time I work commute. So, and everything is just far from where we live. You may say like, oh, well, you could get a different EV, something more affordable. It's like, look, we started with a Tesla and it set the bar high already. So there's ventilated seats in the front. There are heated seats in 4 out of 5 of the seats. The center second row does not have heated seats. Our Plaid had 6 seats and our long range had 6 seats. That is the design we wanted, or the spec that we wanted, because coming from minivans, we wanted that center aisle to get to the 3rd row. We didn't need 6 seats because whenever we travel, the most that go are 5 people. So we just needed a 5-seater. But we always ended up having to fold 1 seat down whenever we go on road trips in the Model X. Here, it's a truck. We use the vault a lot. The frunk, I'll get to that. But this has a lot more storage. Another thing that I like is the big wheels. The big wheels, I don't have to worry about curb rashing. If you own a Model 3, a Model Y, any of them Teslas, their wheels tends to stick out a little bit. There isn't enough meat on the sidewall, so it's very easy to curb the wheels. And so the Model X does have thicker tires, so it kind of protects the wheels a little bit better, but definitely Model Y, I've curbed that thing so much. And just look around the parking lots for Model 3 and Model Y, you'll find them because there are a lot of them. You're going to see curbed wheels, and mine is no exception. My Model Y is curbed. But here, the thick tires, the bigger wheels, yeah, you're not going to curb. If anything, you're going to run over the curb. So that's something I like about the Cybertruck. I don't have to baby this thing. I could just not even have to worry about, where I park. Being that it's stainless steel, the way the Cybertruck is designed, I don't have to worry about, shopping carts hitting it, door dings. I don't have to worry about that. I just don't have to baby it, unlike I did with the Model X. Model Y, I baby that too. The Rivian R1T, I don't baby that either. Like I rarely wash both of these trucks. I rarely wash it, so I like that. Next thing is the big bed, or the vault. This does have a bigger bed than the Rivian R1T. The L-Track and accessory options are plenty for the Cybertruck. The L-Track design is really neat, and I wish the Rivian had that. But you could get third-party stuff to have some similar functionalities with it. But here, it's already built on. It's already there, and you could do a lot of stuff with that L-Track. I have videos of accessories using the L-Track that I've done in the past, and also in the future we'll be doing some more accessory videos. But yeah, the tonneau cover design is great. I think it's one of the quiet ones. The only thing I can say about it is my particular Cybertruck has a missing slat at the very top over here. And like right now it's raining. That bed has water inside. The vault has water inside because it gets in that top part of the tonneau, that missing slat. Now, I'm not sure if there's a TSB yet assigned to my VIN, but they are aware of the issue, and Tesla's slowly fixing and repairing that issue. So once I hear from them, or next time I need to go to service, I will mention it again, and hopefully they can fix that for me. So speaking of the vault, there's a rear bumper, and so you could use that to step on to get onto the bed of the truck. The reason why I mentioned that is because my Rivian doesn't have it. What you have to do is step on the gear tunnel door to get onto the bed, because there's nothing you could step on the Rivian. There's no rear bumper, so when you have your tailgate down, you can't. I mean, I guess you could try to hop on, but man, I'm old. ain't no way I'm going to be doing that ever so often. So you got to open your gear tunnel and then step on that and then hop on over to the bed. Whereas in the Cybertruck, you put the tailgate down, step on the bumper, and then you're on to the vault or the bed. Also, there are a lot of outlets on the Cybertruck. They have one in the center console. They have one below the rear or second row screen. And there's also outlets in the bed or in the vault. I mention that because I don't get it, Tesla. This is the only Tesla that has outlets. Tesla sells electric vehicles. Why are there no outlets? There's 12 volt, cigarette plugs and stuff on all of them, but none of them have outlets. Our previous minivans, not electric, all gas, had outlets. So we were already used to using the outlets. Now those outlets cannot handle high capacity, but electric vehicles, the outlets should be able to handle that. 12 volt plugs are also limited in the capacity of output. So with this, not only does it have a 120 volt, it also has a 240 volt NEMA 1450. I can't remember, but it has a 240 volt. Now on the steering wheel, we have real buttons. Again, I'm mentioning this because coming from the Model X refresh, they have like the haptic buttons. I don't like it. I do not like it. The door buttons to open the door on the Model X, also haptic. It just feels fake. So I like the real buttons. So these are real physical buttons. The turn signal, the doors, to open the doors, they're real. Everything on the steering wheel is real buttons, so I could feel it. So the next thing I want to talk about as far as likes is the rear seats do fold up. And they fold up opposite to how the Rivian ones fold. They fold like to the back. And the cool thing about this is there are no built-in storage bins. So you would have to, if you want storage bins, you have to buy either first-party or third-party bins. But the cool thing about that is without the bins, you can actually lie down on the floor here if you're going camping, like maybe get a mattress or something. And you could lie down on the floor here instead of lying down in the vault. Also, if you have like medium to large size dogs, if you need a taller height for them to just move around, then you can fold the seats up and they get all that floor right there instead of standing on the seats itself. I did a video on pet covers, and that was something I was thinking about, but when I had my dog back here, she had plenty of room, headroom and everything. But any larger dogs, my dog is 62 pounds. So I'd say if your dogs are 80 or so or bigger dogs, you have that option to just put the seats up and just let them move around here. They're going to be a little bit more comfortable. All right, so here are my dislikes, and this is not just on Cybertrucks, but all Tesla. I don't understand why. They have no handles. No handles up here, no handles over here. The Rivian has handles up here. And so it's sometimes hard to get in, or if you're not used to it, you're going to try to be feeling for that handle. Man, we should have had handles there. So I want to mention it. I'm going to say it's a dislike and not like an other thought or whatever, because I wish there was handles, especially the Cybertruck. Getting in, yes, there is like entry mode and stuff, but, and I have running boards, but there's just times again, I'm getting old. I'm getting old. So handles help a lot. So hopefully in the future they'll add that, or maybe a third party will. Yeah, but you're going to mess up the interior. I don't know. I don't know. The next thing I want to mention is I do have a rattle underneath the steering wheel. I'll insert a clip. It happens when I'm driving on the street, but on highways and stuff, it doesn't happen. Only when I'm driving on the streets. The next dislike, this thing drinks electricity. Like, it's very thirsty. My efficiency is over 400 watt-hour per mile. I mean, maybe it would be better if I had the core wheels. I think I was talking with Butter EV, Eric. He mentioned he has a friend with the core wheels, and he's getting high 300s, like 381, 382 watt-hour per mile. So it is possible to get below 400, but this came with Cyber wheels, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the trade-off. But man, it's an adjustment. Again, coming from Model Y and Model X. My Model X, before we gave it up, we were averaging 355 watt-hour per mile. And then my Model Y, the average right now after 45,000 miles is like 279 or 281 watt-hour per mile. Now, maybe I can improve my efficiency if I drive in chill mode, but if you caught the Glamis video, I mentioned that I set it on FSD on chill mode. Don't recommend the experience. I mean, I recommend if you're trying to conserve, yes, it will do that. As far as the experience and stuff, I don't know if I want to recommend that. I'm going to put this on the dislike list simply because I'm just used to it, but having dual screens, a screen in the center and a screen behind the steering wheel, I love that. The Model X has it, or had it. My Rivian R1T has it. My Model Y didn't come with it, but I got an aftermarket screen that sits behind the steering wheel. I love it for two reasons. Number one, previous cars before EVs had it. So I just like having it. I'm used to it. And number two, with multiple screens, you can display a lot more information. It didn't have it on the Model X, but in the R1T and in the Model Y, I have a way to display both battery percent and also miles in range. And I think that is very convenient. Yes, you could tap on the percentage, it switches to miles and vice versa. Yes, you could do that. But just seeing it all the time, I think is very convenient for me. I believe there are third-party accessories that you can get to get a screen behind the steering wheel, but for now, I'm going to ease up on those kinds of accessories until I know that this truck is pretty solid. This next one is a big one for me. The frunk size is small. I use my frunk a lot, even without powered frunk. My Model X had frunk that's not powered, and my Model Y is not a powered frunk. I use it all the time. I'd say every day I use it. I use it because that's where I store food, because it's a separate compartment. It's not attached to the cabin. And I don't like the smell of food in my cars. And so I use it often. Even though it's not powered, I use it all the time. And so, yes, the Cybertruck is a powered frunk, but compared to the other vehicles I've owned, it's not that big. I don't know. I don't know what I would give up to make that bigger. Maybe the dash should be shorter, because it's like 3 feet long, like 36 inches or something, or 31 inches. But maybe shorten that to get more frunk space. I don't know, but it's really small. The next dislike, and I've mentioned this in previous videos, is just the A pillar, the blind spot that it gives. You really have to be careful. There's times I'm crossing the intersection and not realizing it's like a four-way stop, that there's a vehicle that got there before I did, or we may have gotten there at the same time, or they were there first by a split second or whatever, and they're about to start moving, and I don't even see them until they're right there. So we're heading into the intersection at the same time, and I'm like, where did that car come from? And it's always been there, but because of the blind spot that these A pillars make, it's just you really have to be extra attentive for situations like that, and especially pedestrians making right turns. You have to be extra careful, or at least like take a peek already at that corner, knowing you're gonna make that right, to just make sure there are no pedestrians. And then finally, like these what are these sunshades? These sunshades, I just don't like the design, because at a certain angle, that sun, and I mentioned this in a previous video, it doesn't matter whether you put it down or fold it forward, or it's hitting that right spot to where it doesn't matter how your sunshade is, that sun is gonna hit you right in the eye. It's just the way it's designed. And the reason for that is the roof or the ceiling is too far up. Now, this doesn't happen in the Model X because their sunshades are designed differently. I mean, it does happen where the angle of the sun, but the sunshade on the Model X has more angle support. Like, I guess it's hard to explain. Also, there is no, this part of the roof this part of the roof in the Cybertruck exists. In the Model X, this is way back here. It's way back here, and this is all glass. So you could, even though the sunshade in that Model X isn't as big compared to the Cybertruck, you're able to just angle it in a way that you're not going to have that issue in the Model X. But here, it's a little bothersome. It happens around lunchtime when that sun is straight up, like between 12 and 1 p.m., something like that. I know because I'm out to lunch when I go to work, and so it's a dislike. I don't know if that's like an other thoughts thing. Like, I really don't like that. I mean, I sometimes just have to adjust the way I sit until I turn a different street and facing a different direction. But yeah, it's a little bothersome to me, and I don't like that. All right, so my next list is like the other thoughts. Well, it's not a neither like or dislike, but something I have to mention. And it's a short list. The first thing I want to just mention, and I have mentioned this in other videos, is if you're going to use a CCS adapter for the Cybertruck, you have to get one with the nose or the nozzle. The tip is longer, because the wheel flares, the fender flares, get in the way of the door of that charge port. that it's not going to reach. So I've recorded some videos on that already. You can use an EV jack adapter with a regular CCS adapter, but I also have heard that the newer Hansho CCS adapter does work, because some people at the Glamis trip that I recently went to with Cybertrucks, they were using the Hansho ones. I just don't know what the actual model name is, but they said they've used that adapter at the CCS chargers. And then the second thing, and this I just started noticing because I've always wondered, like, why are the windows rolling down? The placement of where the window controllers are is in an area where when you're going in or out, I and my kids have a tendency to put our hands in part of that door where those buttons are. And so when I push down to get up or just support myself, it ends up pushing down the buttons of the window, and and it rolls down. That's something I've noticed. I don't know if y'all have had an experience like that, but it's happening enough that I want to share it with y'all. Now, maybe it's just our size, like we're not really big, but of how we're getting in and out of these cars or trucks. But it just happens enough that I want to mention that with you. So I didn't put it as a dislike, but it's just because the experience will be different with everyone, but that's what happens with us. Okay, so now for the insurance cost. Previously, we've gotten a Model Y Performance 2022, 2023 Model X Plaid, and then 2023 Rivian R1T Dual Motor Performance. Now, those three vehicles we have insured with Tesla Insurance. The last renewal period, we were paying $653.35. Just a side note, we live in Southern California. We live in California. These insurance rates that I'm going to share with you are going to sound astronomical if you live in other states. It's just ridiculously expensive. But I guess for many of us here in California, we're just like, man, we know it's high, but that's, as they say, it is what it is. But if you're out of state, you're going to be like, dang, that is a lot. And yes, we agree, but we need to have insurance. But yeah, to break it down, Model Y is $197.34 per month. Model X was $307.75, and R1T is $148.26. Now, the Model Y, I told them I drive for 16,000 miles a year, Model X 15,000 miles a year, and R1T 12,000 miles because it's a lease. All the coverage is the usual 300,000 and 100,000 liability. Now, the Y and the X have a deductible of 500 comprehensive and 500 collision. Previously, I was able to get a $100 comprehensive deductible, but in the last renewal period, they'd done away with it. So that kind of sucks. They also have a $45 a day rental like coverage. So if I need to get my car repaired or anything and I need to get a rental, they can cover me up to $45 per day. I could raise it up just so that I can get enough coverage to get an electric vehicle, because I don't think Tesla rentals are going to be $45 a day. But I figured that's enough. I'm already paying way too much in insurance. So you also may be wondering, well, you have Tesla insurance, but you have a Rivian also covered in your policy. Yes, as long as you have one Tesla vehicle in the policy, you can add non-Tesla vehicles. I also found out that in California, based on the person I spoke with, you don't have to have a Tesla vehicle to get a Tesla insurance policy. So this may be untrue in other states, but according to the person I spoke with, you don't need a Tesla vehicle. You could insure any vehicle under Tesla insurance. So then when we bought the Cybertruck, so I had to remove the Model X and replaced it with the Cybertruck. My premium went up about $2. And so what ended up happening is it jumped from $653.35 to $654.29. So just about $1 or so. But the breakdown remained the same, except the Cybertruck went up to $308.69. Now, my insurance is renewing this month, end of March. So I went ahead and got a renewal quote. So it went up to $682.12. But this is with State National Underwriter. So here's another backstory to this. In California, there is Tesla underwriting and State National Underwriting, and they've recently switched over. Some of the people I know in California who have Tesla insurance never found the switch or saw the switch, but now they're giving me the option to switch out of State National Underwriting into Tesla Underwriting because it has become available in California. And if I chose to do that, because the premium is the same, but if I switch to Tesla Underwriting, then I save 3% for the next 6-month period, which brings my monthly total to $661.65, up from $654.29. Otherwise, it would have been $682.12. Hopefully, you're following along. But there's some fluctuations here and there, and I don't know if it's just because it's a new renewal period and insurance just went up. But they took a peek at my mileage, my odometer on the Cybertruck, because I gave them permission to look in here so that I don't have to report the mileage, but they could look into their network to tap into the vehicles and get the odometer. So initially, the Model Y was set for, I think, 16,000 miles. The Cybertruck was at 15,000 miles a year, getting that from the Model X, and then the R1T 12,000. But in the last renewal quote, they estimated this truck to be driven 33,000 miles based on what my driving has been. And they even gave me dates of when they pulled the numbers from. And so they said, so we took delivery December 31st. January 3, they took a peek and the odometer reading is 2,364. So if you subtract 2,000 miles, because we bought it with 2,000 miles, I've already driven the car or the truck over 300 miles in 3 days. And then in February 26, they saw that it had 6,953 miles, or 4,900 subtract the 2,000. So I've been driving a lot, as I mentioned, because of the free supercharging, but that's how much driving I do with or without the Cybertruck. So again, they're only going to read your odometer remotely if you give them consent, which I did because I was tired of emailing them a photo of the odometer during renewal periods. So you could do that. They can't do that in the Rivian because it's not in the Tesla network. So I still have to use the Tesla app to take a picture of the odometer and then send it, which I did just for this renewal period. So I called about this mileage discrepancy and I was on hold for 1 hour and 46 minutes just to ask about hey, I'm not going to be driving this truck for 33,000 miles this year. It's only like that because of the free supercharging. Once that's over, it's going to be back to a weekend vehicle. But they said, it's okay because the offset happened on your Model Y from 16,000 to 11,000 miles. And I'm like, yeah, but you've doubled from 15,000 to 33,000, whereas my Model Y just lowered by a few thousand miles. I don't think that's fair or accurate. She said that I will be able to adjust the mileage estimate once my renewal period kicks in. Right now, I can't do anything because I'm in the process of renewing. And so it may or may not adjust my premium, but we would only know after my renewal period starts, which is March 26 or 27. I just don't like having to call. You can't do these kinds of you can't get the answers to these types of questions over the app or anything like that. I mean, I could have emailed, but it just takes days for them to respond, and it's just something I wanted to know about. I forgot to ask if they can give me a breakdown of per vehicle cost. And I wasn't going to call him back and wait another 2 hours to talk to someone. So I'm not going to do that. So if you are interested in the per vehicle monthly cost in insurance, do let me know in the comments below and I'll find out for you. Once the renewal kicks in, the new documentation becomes available in the app, and then I could pull that information. But currently those are the numbers that I have for insurance. All right, so here are some fun with numbers data. This is the energy used and cost from December 31st to January 31st. Now keep in mind, this is actual energy cost and not the actual cost of me supercharging. Those numbers are going to be a little bit more expensive. But these are just actual cost based on my driving habits, the routes that I've taken, weather, all that stuff. The numbers are going to vary because we all drive differently. We all drive in different locations, so on and so forth. But this is just actual energy use of the vehicle, and we just calculated it with the rates that I have locally. In this spreadsheet, not only do I have the different cost per kilowatt, 16 cents being the national average, but I've incremented them 10 cents like I normally do. So from 16 cents per kilowatt hour all the way to 56 cents. Keep in mind, again, I live in California. Everything's expensive, and that also includes electricity. I will be using 36 cents per kilowatt hour for like just my baseline comparison. Below we have compared to gas. I'm comparing the Cybertruck to be like the F-150 Raptor. On paper it says it's 14 miles per gallon, but we're going to use the number 15 miles per gallon. We're going to give it a 1 mile advantage or an improvement. Again, these are just off of what the paper says. These are not actual miles per gallon stats, but I've also have it incremented by 5 miles per gallon. So I have what I have on display is 15, 20, 25, and 30 miles per gallon. Find me a truck that gets 30 miles per gallon that has the same capability, and I'll probably end up getting that. I don't know. Or not, because I just like driving EVs. So in a 30-day period, December 31st to January 31st, I've driven 2,740 miles. And to drive those miles, the Cybertruck used 1,126 kilowatt hours of energy. My watt hour per mile is 411, or miles per kilowatt hour is 2.43 miles per kilowatt hour. So if we look at 36 cents, it would have costed me $405.36 to charge or pay for 1,126 kilowatt hours. So if I drove that for 12 months, it would have costed $4,864.32 for the entire year for 12 months. I know that the Foundation Series, for an additional $20,000, you get all those perks, but you also get the unlimited supercharging. And so if you're buying the Foundation Series and that's all you're after, you don't care about FSD or anything like that, it would take you at those rates 4.11 years to get your ROI, your return on investments. But these are just fun with numbers. I just like to throw out some numbers for you all. Now, looking at 15 miles per gallon, and I have $3.99 cost per gallon, $4.49, $4.99, so on and so forth. So I incremented them by 50 cents. We're going to look at the $4.50 rate cost per gallon because that's like the average cost here in California. So for a 15 mile per gallon F-150 Raptor to drive the same amount of miles, it would have costed $820.17 to drive 2,740 miles at 15 miles per gallon. Now, we have this other box, savings on gas versus 36 cents per kilowatt hour. So if you look at the 449 cost per gallon, you're actually saving 50.58%, comparing it to F-150 Raptor to the Cybertruck. So if you drove the Cybertruck instead of the F-150 Raptor, you save half. But yeah, you can just check out the spreadsheet. I have different cost and stuff there. I also have another section that shows the next 30 days. This time I went from February 1st, 2025 to March 2nd, 2025. I didn't end it at February 28th because February is just a short month. So I wanted to give it a similar time period. But yeah, the calculations are pretty much the same. You could see that the total miles driven is very similar. I probably drove less. Yeah, I did drive less in the month of February than I did in January, and I used less energy. My watt hour per mile is fairly the same, from like 411 to 409. And then the next section that I have is like the total of the 60 days. I have all those numbers there for you. As far as the savings are concerned, I mean, it floats. If your gas cost is $3.99 per gallon, then your savings is about 45% compared to the numbers I got with the Cybertruck. Again, these numbers may differ because of the way you drive, the weather condition, the road condition, all that, because my efficiency may be different than yours. But you can access this spreadsheet. It's free. You know, you could download it and modify it, change the numbers around. You could change the total miles, the total energy used, and the watt hour per mile, and all of the numbers below it should be calculating automatically for you. I think you could even change the cost per kilowatt hour, as well as the miles per gallon, or the cost per gallon. You should be able to change that as well, and the numbers will change as well. So I hope you check that out and have fun with the numbers. And if I have some incorrect data, then do let me know and I will update the spreadsheet. So what do you think about my calculations? Did you think you were going to save a lot more money driving electric? Yes, if you were not driving the Cybertruck. If you compared those numbers to like a more efficient Model Y or a Model 3, then yes, you would be saving a lot more money. But at the same time, you're not comparing the same type of vehicle. You're comparing a sedan and a small SUV versus a Cybertruck that has more capabilities. It could do more. It could tow more. You could store more. And this also has a larger battery, 123 kilowatt hour battery. So you have to also factor those in. You could do more in the Cybertruck, but then it also takes more energy to do whatever you need to do. So some of you are probably going to be asking, well, since you replaced the Model X with the Cybertruck, do you miss the Model X? Yes and no. And so what I miss about the Model X is the cabin noise is much better. It's much quieter. There are noise canceling devices inside that Model X that just makes that cabin noise quieter. When driving the Cybertruck above 55 miles per hour, I start to hear wind noise. And that wind noise is coming from near the sunshade, like up here. That's where I noticed where the noise is coming from. So quieter cabin in the Model X. The comfort is similar, but the seats in the Model X is softer, as I mentioned before. I don't really miss the performance. Yes, I had the Plaid, but the Plaid was not really the thing that attracted me to the Model X. I really wish they improved that car. Improve it in quality. where it's more consistent, because many of you commented, I've never had issues with my Model X, and some of you have commented, I also have issues with the Model X. So if they improve the quality of that vehicle, if I were to get one, I'm not going to look at it as a replacement to a minivan. It is definitely not a replacement for a minivan. I don't even want to consider it an SUV. The utility on that thing, unless they do a refresh and do a lot better with options, there's not much utility to it. I mean, the missing outlets just is a big deal for what I'm looking for. The storage also, again, we kept folding one seat down just so that we can bring stuff that we wanted to bring on road trips. And so here, man, we've only taken one road trip, but we were able to fit a lot of stuff. Abby brought more than what she wanted to bring, and she wanted to bring more. And I'm like, well, we got to figure out how to bring that from the truck to our hotel room. So ease up. But she doesn't have to, because the vault is fairly big. It's huge. Lot of utility. I overall I like the truck. I like the truck. I love the replacement aspect of it. Us replacing the Model X with the Cybertruck is huge for me, because I really think that this fits our needs more than what the Model X gave to us. I'm not saying the Model X was a bad vehicle. If we didn't have any issues at all with that Model X, we would have never gotten a Cybertruck. Even though I had an order or a pre-order for it, a reservation, I already had my Rivian, and I'm very satisfied with my Rivian. So we would have never looked into the Cybertruck. So I guess because of the issues we've faced, multiple issues with multiple Model X's that we faced, we started looking at the Cybertruck. And I think it fits us better for what we're looking for. Abby does still miss the Model X, but she's content with what the Cybertruck brings. She still doesn't like parking it. The length of the Cybertruck is very long, and this cabin is more towards the front than traditional vehicles. So when you're like backing or parking, you have to realize the tip of like your truck, it's long, you know, like it's like you got a big ass like that. So when you're turning, especially with the rear wheel steering, I mean, that's something I didn't mention of what I like. I do like that, and the steer by wire. But when you're steering, you always have to remember, man, you got to watch out where the corners or the tip of the back of this truck is, because it's long. It's extra long compared to what I'm normally driving. The Rivian isn't as long as the Cybertruck, so that's something you always have to keep in mind. Overall, like, I think $80,000 is a great price for what you're getting with the Cybertruck. It's almost unfair. And I'm not saying that as a Tesla fanboy, but I'm looking at what you get from the truck for $80,000 compared to, I mean, there's not that many other electric trucks out there. You have the R1T, you have the Denali, the GMC, Sierra, the Hummer EV truck, and then you have the Chevrolet, I can't remember the other ones. If you were going to get a similar trim, you're beyond $80,000. The Rivian dual motor large pack, not the standard large pack, because you're trying to compare features with what the Cybertruck gives. The large pack, you're in the mid 80,000. You're like somewhere in the $86,000, something like that. This is still 80K. If you look at the Hummer EV, oh, forget about it. You're at 100,000. Haven't looked at the other truck prices, but you're already up there. So for $80,000, what you get for the Cybertruck, we're not going to talk about the looks. We're not going to talk about the negative, looks at it. People don't like it or whatever. We're not going to look at that. We're just going to talk about, like, for the value, you're getting a lot. And on top of that, you're getting the Tesla ecosystem. And I don't think many people realize what that means. Like, a lot of people don't like the iPhone, but not realizing when you get that iPhone, you are trapped for good or worse reasons. You're trapped in an ecosystem. Everything, a lot of tech stuff, because this is technology. You're getting put into an ecosystem. If you have an iPhone, you're more than likely will get a MacBook laptop. You're more than likely to get a Mac Mini or an iMac desktop, because the iPhone is like that gateway, right? So if you've gotten good experiences from that iPhone, you're like, I want more, so I'm going to go and swap out my computers with Apple computers. With Tesla, that ecosystem, what it brings you is you have a great supercharging network. The best, by far the best, not only from just experience of charging, availability and location is also what you, rates, prices. Rivian just increased their kilowatt hour rate. Man, they're just like Electrify America now. And they're not even as widely available. So you're getting that as part of the ecosystem. Yes, other non-Tesla EVs can now charge at Tesla superchargers, but not all of them. You have to look for V3 250 kilowatts or newer, and it's not even all V3s. I was actually surprised by that. There's some on the way to Vegas that were V3 250. They were not compatible. I was surprised. So they're picking certain ones only. But with Tesla, you have unlocked access to all V1, V2, V3, V4, all of it, the different speeds, all of it. The ease of use where you just plug in and unplug and it just charges your credit card. Easy. And if you get that deal where you get free supercharging, easy. Man. And they're also moving into NACS standard. It'll be standard connection throughout North America. So you already, if you have a Tesla, you're already part of the standard, whereas other vehicles will still continue to use an adapter, or you have to wait for their newer versions to get that native port installed or be part of that vehicle. So you have supercharging as part of the ecosystem. You have the infotainment, the software that's part of the car. EVs, the software is a huge part of electric vehicles. If the software stack is not that great, I think it just affects your experience with that vehicle a lot. And so I have neighbors with Hummer EVs, 2 of them, and I spoke with one of them recently. He loves the Hummer EV, loves it. He also has a Model Y, loves it. He loves it as far as it being the truck. Every aspect of the vehicle, of it being a truck, of it just having the big tires, being able to go off-roading, all that stuff, loves it. Doesn't even care if it has double the battery size. Doesn't even care about, charging longer times. It's fine, whatever. The thing that he brings up that he misses from his Model Y is the software experience. His screen usually runs sluggish. The menus aren't as intuitive. So the software stack is a huge part of that Tesla ecosystem. That minimalistic design, it's across all of their fleet. So if you have multiple Tesla vehicles, everything is just familiar. And every time I jump in between the different Teslas, it just feels like I'm driving the other car or whatever. I mean, minus it being physically bigger or less screens, all that, whatever. It just feels like you don't have to relearn anything else. So it's that the design of their vehicles is consistent throughout all of their different vehicles. That profile thing is really cool because it follows you, right? If you get a loaner, your profile is on the Tesla servers, and all of your settings get downloaded onto your loaner vehicle, and it feels like it's the car you've always had. It's your seat adjustment gets downloaded and set for you. Your the different settings on in the software, it's there. Like everything is there. So that's part of the ecosystem. They can do that. The phone key, just the integration of technology and all that, that's part of the ecosystem that I think that experience that you're getting, doesn't matter which Tesla you have, it just comes, you know? So is a huge benefit, a huge plus, a huge advantage. And so, yes, if you were to ask me if we made the right choice for this vehicle, as far as it replacing the Model X, 100% I think is a better vehicle for us and for what we need. Again, we're going back to just the efficiency on this thing. It uses a lot of electricity, and I wish they would improve on that. But it is understandable because of the type of vehicle. But yeah, I think that's it for this video. It's a fairly long video, but I wanted to share pretty much everything on my notes. So hopefully it's been informative. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what your feedback is. If you have a Cybertruck, if you're planning to buy a Cybertruck, I do have a Tesla referral link. If you are buying any Tesla, please consider using my Tesla referral link, or Rivian. I have a Rivian referral link as well. Speaking of Rivian, my 1-year anniversary is coming up, so I'm going to be doing a 1-year review on the Rivian R1T. And because I've driven enough miles on this truck that I've gotten used to it, the following video after that I'm going to be working on is finally Rivian R1T versus Cybertruck. And I can now tell you why I prefer. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please like. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.